Good afternoon. Thank you for joining us for our presentation of Our Dream, Our Space, Our Sport, a qualitative case study investigation of the Go Green Cricket Field project. My name is Clara-Jane, and along with Dr. Aaron Sharp, we focused on a community cricket field project in Toronto, Ontario, and will present to you the findings over the next 20 minutes. The project we focused on began in 2010 when a community group from Thorncliffe Park, a neighbourhood located in Toronto, Ontario, embarked on a multi-year, multi-million-dollar campaign to build a cricket field in their neighbourhood. In a city in which sports spaces of this scope are developed through public funding, the notion of a community group raising funds so that they could develop and manage their own outdoor sports space was both innovative and intriguing. We decided to embark on this study for many reasons. Our focus of sport was mainly because sport has many properties which transcend the playing field. The power of sport has been used to eliminate cultural boundaries and empower communities around the world. In this study, we investigated how cricket played a role in a Toronto-based neighbourhood community development project, and what the significance of a community-based cricket field was to this neighbourhood. It is the formation of a cultural connection to the game of cricket that this study focuses on, looking at new immigrants to Canada and why this sport, as well as the building of a cricket field, holds so much significance to neighbourhood residents. The Go Green Cricket Field project is more than just a cricket field. It's a multi-sport field, including baseball, soccer, and cricket. It has a wetland, a butterfly conservation meadow, outdoor classrooms, an amphitheater, community garden, as well as other environmentally friendly elements. This project was estimated to cost $1.8 million by completion, and the funds were entirely raised by the Go Green Cricket Field Board of Directors and volunteers within the community. With a mixture of grants, financial donations, and in-kind donations, they raised the necessary funds. None of the funding came from the City of Toronto or the TDSB. We feel it's important to provide you all with some background information on Thorncliffe and Flemington Park neighbourhoods. Within Flemington Park, there are almost 40,000 residents. 34% of the population are under the age of 15, and the median age is only 27.6, which is 10 years lower than the Greater Toronto Area average. It is also the most densely populated neighbourhood in Toronto, a city of over 3 million people. There are close to 10,000 people in Thorncliffe and Flemington Park living in high-rise apartments, with 81% of the population living with family members, sometimes many more than the apartment has bedroom floors. In recent years, the top 4 countries of immigration have been India, the Philippines, Pakistan, and Sri Lanka, all cricket-playing nations, with an already established 10-year trend of India being the top country of immigration. It's interesting to note that over half of the residents of this neighbourhood have completed their post-secondary education, yet in contrast, 27.1% of residents are considered to be part of the Toronto low-income population group. Perhaps the level of education speaks to the community's ability to mobilize and build upon their social capital to have achieved such a tremendous level of funding for this project, close to $1.8 million. I would now like to take you all on a walk through Thorncliffe Park and demonstrate the community's lack of both recreational space and adequate cricket grounds. This walk was guided by the head coach of the Go Green Cricket Field program as well as the community sports director, who are both funded solely through grant money raised by this project. On the beginning of our walk, we came to what used to be an adequate cricket grounds. To our left is the largest elementary school or public school in Canada. This is Thorncliffe Park Public School. There are over 2,000 students that attend this school on a yearly basis. What we're looking at to the left is a construction project developed for the kindergarten program in order to eliminate some of the overcrowding in the school. They are building a school solely for the kindergarten students, which will be home to over 700 students. However, this was the most adequate cricket grounds in the neighbourhood prior to construction. We are viewing what used to be green space, what used to be a sporting field, and that the youth of the community used to play cricket. We are now walking through what is known as R.V. Burgess Park. This is a community park. However, as you can see, there is predominantly more concrete than there is green space. As we continued into Thorncliffe Public School to view what used to be the best cricket grounds in the neighborhood, I was shown that cricket is still alive and well. Even without a cricket field, the youth of the community love the sport so much that they continue to play cricket. What they have done is constructed their own wickets within a concrete jungle, if you will. They simply take green and blue chalk and draw in their wickets right on the brick wall of the school. Of course, playing in a school grounds is not ideal, neither is the playing cricket on cement. However, playing in the school is more acceptable than playing in parking lots of the local grocery store, which is another cricket ground that the youth commonly use. As we continue walking through the neighborhood, I'm also in awe of the high-rise apartments that surround everything. There's more apartment building than there are green space or trees. During our walk, we discussed the cricket options in Thorncliffe Park and what organizations run programs. I was informed that the local community office, the Thorncliffe Neighborhood Office, was just beginning to run a cricket program for the youth of the community. However, after 10 years of living in the neighborhood, neither the coach nor the community sports director had ever seen such a program until now. To our right is another example of the passion for cricket. They will simply set up wickets anywhere and everywhere. We began walking down to what's known as the Valley. This is the second most used cricket grounds in Thorncliffe and Flemington Park. However, as you can see, this too is not an adequate cricket field. This is simply a large parking lot in which community members can gather and play the sport that they love without the risk of being kicked off of a ground or without having to obtain a permit that can be quite costly and unattainable to begin with. The Valley grounds are used in replace of the old cricket field that has now been removed to build the new public school. Community members meet in this location on a daily and weekly basis. I asked how members of the community know when cricket is happening, and the response I received was, they just know. Cricket is played so often that on a typical Monday, the community members just know that cricket will be happening in this location. Again, the feeling of a concrete jungle is rather predominant in this neighborhood and through the struggle to find adequate cricket grounds. Upon leaving the valley, we come to our final destination and the most hopeful place for the average cricket player living in Thorncliffe or Flemington Park. This is Valley Park Middle School. This is where the Go Green Cricket Field project is being built. We now see freshly laid grass on what will be the future home of the first cricket field project in this neighborhood.
I wonder if Rahul Dravid went and told him, just play our game, don't worry.
Just keep going, youngster. Really, this was against the break. Now take a look at this one. Against the break.
Cricket has had a marginal status within the Canadian sports system for many years. Although sport was introduced to Canada in its period of early colonization, and Canada hosted the first international cricket match in 1844, it did not become a popular pastime as it has in other former British colonies such as the West Indies, Australia, and India. Cricket in Canada has remained a sport of the elites, played largely on the confines of a few country clubs and elite boarding schools. However, Canadian interest in cricket has begun to grow. This interest has been primarily driven by the immigration of significant populations from cricket-playing countries, most notably the Caribbean in the 1970s and 80s, and South Asia in the 1990s and 2000s. In the region where these diasporic communities have settled, cricket has flourished. It is believed that sport, as a cultural form, has an important role to play within diasporic communities. Janelle Joseph suggests that while diasporas are often constructed as homeless and displaced, they also draw on modes of cultural production, such as sport, to feel at home or in-placed. She argues that for the Caribbean diaspora in Canada, sport and sports settings, specifically cricket, provide a home space through which migrants could connect to national, regional, or cultural heritage, as well as other displaced peers. Similar data has been found in Britain. It's been found that cricket helps to create social networks among the South Asian diaspora, as well as act as a site upon which the South Asian diasporic identity can be reconfigured. There is a gap in literature within the Canadian and South Asian diaspora. We hope that this study will Our research was guided by the following questions. Why were community members so interested in a cricket field that they were willing to raise $1.8 million to fund it? What does cricket mean to this community? And what was the community hoping that the field would achieve? More broadly, how does this project inform our understanding of the role of sport and sport spaces in diasporic communities, specifically the role of cricket in a South Asian diasporic community in Toronto? We explored these questions using a qualitative case study approach. Our primary data sources were in-depth interviews held with 11 members of the cricket field community, which we defined as any person who has a vested interest in the field's success. Primarily, our respondents were individuals who were cricket players, residents of Thorncliffe and Flemington Park, and members of the project organizing committee. However, most respondents met more than one, if not all, of these criteria. Our findings centered around four main themes: the opportunity to play the sport that residents love, cricket, and to play it their way; cricket as a tool for transition into Canadian life, as well as offering temporary respite from the stresses of Canadian life; cricket providing a connection to back home while also helping to shape their South Asian diasporic identity; and how the cricket field was more than just a sporting space, and cricket was more than a game. When asked about the significance of the cricket field, the most common response was that the cricket field was important because it gave newcomers an opportunity to play the sport that they love. The majority of Thorncliffe Park residents have migrated from countries where there are deep cultural and sporting ties to cricket. As respondents stated, back home, everybody plays cricket, and a passion for cricket is in our blood. Cricket also offered an easy transition into Canadian life. For newcomers, finding and playing cricket in Canada helped with the transition to their new country. The migration and settlement experience is noted as a challenging and difficult process. For newcomers, encountering cricket in their new country was reassuring, and playing cricket engaged residents in a physical and cultural practice that was deeply familiar and comfortable. As one respondent noted, if you have those sports in Canada, it feels like you never left. Cricket also created a space in which newcomers could experience a temporary respite from Canadian life. As a visible minority in Canada, everyday life was an ongoing effort to engage with a cultural, language, and set of customs that were unfamiliar. In contrast, the cricket field was a comfortable space for South Asian newcomers, as it was a space where they held majority status. It's more for the newcomers. As soon as they come here, they just have to walk one street away. It was noted that they said, okay, I don't have to speak English for that, and I'm enjoying it, and it's reminding me about my back home, where I am coming from, so you feel more comfortable in this country. Cricket also provides a connection to back home, while shaping the South Asian diasporic identity in Canada. It's noted that sport is important to diaspora communities because it makes them feel a sense of belonging. Thus, it appears that these newcomers do not necessarily have a desire to return to homeland as much as they have a homing desire or a desire for the feeling of back home. However, the diaspora connection is two-sided, connecting both to the place of one's roots and to the place of one's permanent residence. Indeed, while cricket played an important role in connecting residents to their homeland, residents also saw that it had a role to play in helping forge a connection to Canada. As noted earlier, cricket maintains a marginal status within the Canadian sports system. While Canada does have a national team, its members are comprised almost solely of players who play competitive cricket elsewhere before immigrating to Canada. While the poor performance of Canada's cricket team was a lamentable fact among the study respondents, it also shaped their engagement with the sport in their new country. In contrast to reported challenges faced by cricket-playing diasporas in Britain, the cricket fans in this study neither felt ambivalent nor faced criticism regarding their cricket loyalties. With no Canadian cricket team to speak of, they unapologetically cheered for their home team. Further, rather than being denied opportunities and access to mainstream cricket sports system, the experience of these cricketers was one of a search for and develop cricket in their new homeland. Thus, while the Canadian field was important to the community, it was also thought to be good for Canada by helping Canada become a more prominent player on the international stage. One respondent noted that the field is good for Cricket Canada because there's a lot of talent in the community. Maybe if a kid gets coached right, he makes it to the national team, it will be good for Canada, the Canadian cricket team. They're one of the bottom teams. Cricket is more than a game, and this field is more than a sporting space to the community members. Community residents support the Cricket Field project for how the new field can also serve as a connection point for residents of the Thorncliffe and Flemington Park neighborhood. As noted earlier, the Thorncliffe Park community is predominantly a South Asian neighborhood, and while South Asian is often treated in Canada as one homogeneous cultural group, there are important cultural, religious, and ethnic distinctions. Indeed, Thorncliffe Park is a neighborhood with immense diversity that faces challenges similar to other diverse communities in terms of forging a common unity. Residents look forward to having an inviting and close-to-home community space that can serve as a place to meet and socialize, a community feature that was in short supply in this growing neighborhood. Having local public spaces to meet and socialize was important to residents, as home spaces tended to be too small and crowded for proper hosting. Already the Cricket Field project has played a significant role in forging connections among residents. As one organizer stated, cricket created a galvanizing effect in the community. It's engaged a lot of diverse group within the community. Support related not only to the widespread interest and unifying potential of cricket, but to how the project itself offered a positive and fun way to work towards community betterment, again, reinforcing the important role that leisure, fun, and conviviality play in community building endeavors. Finally, I would like to bring up the fact that this Cricket Field project also has a political dimension. Engaging in a project that was at its heart an endeavor to shift the ownership and control of a scarce local resource, the diaspora community claimed space for itself within the broader city landscape. In doing so, the community was exhibiting a substantial amount of social power, even as it continued to be framed in the broader discourse as a relatively powerless neighborhood. Indeed, the Cricket Field project provides policymakers with an excellent example of community mobilizing and social power. Overall, the Cricket Field project illustrates the changing dynamics of social and cultural relations in Canada, and again emphasizes the important role of sport in social, cultural, and political processes. Thank you very much for listening to this presentation. I would now like to open the floor to any questions or comments that the audience might have.